these slides. And again, thanks and welcome to everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whatever part of the world you're in. Some of you may hearken back to the original days of when Business Catalyst was created back in 2004. Bardia Houseman and myself started Business Catalyst with the vision of the all-in-one online business. Websites are dead. It's online businesses, not websites. And in fact, that statement couldn't be truer. Not the fact that BC is now dead, or end of life, as they call it, but websites traditionally are dead. Brochureware, landing pages, all of those things in the next 3 to 5 years will go away. Everything is API-based. Everything is connected. Internet of Things, apps, etc., is where content, whether it's public products, whether it's people's services, whether it's communities, are all going to be interconnected through APIs. So it may be timely that Adobe made this forced decision for everybody. But as I said, websites are dead. And that mantra, I think, resonated with everybody because it's online businesses, not websites. And we then, from 2004 to 2009, of course, we were acquired by Adobe. And the vision was that we would continue to build out Business Catalyst functionally to really meet the needs of front-end developers and to keep the partner community alive and thriving, which did happen. However, as we know, there has been less and less investment going on. And then we, of course, got the news that the end-of-life announcement was made public on Monday. A number of us did have early knowledge, and we all apologize that we couldn't share that sooner, but we're under non-disclosure agreements as part of the BC Partner Advisory Board. And so it's come to a shock to everybody on Monday when the official word was released. 2 years from Monday to migrate everything off and onto new platforms, of which there is a plethora of choices. In terms of brochureware sites, Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, others. But there's not a lot of choice when it comes to serious online businesses and all-in-one solutions. And after leaving Adobe a number of years ago, that has still been my vision, and I've been building out Platform OS, also known as Near Me Marketplaces, as a product that we deliberately were going to position as a up the value chain approach. So 3 months from now, our plan was to go and market directly to Business Catalyst partners, Shopify partners, Magento partners, and others to give them an alternative to not just a website development, but app development, community development, marketplaces, everything. An all-in-one platform for many-to-many relationships. So everything changed when we found out what was happening, because we now are trying to make sure that we can offer all Business Catalyst partners at a certain price point our entire platform in line with some of your clients' expectations. We're working on it, as are many other competitors to us, and I'm going to share some resources which will help you to identify who are the best people that you should work with, us or others, and there's a lot of great community involvement there. So websites are dead. RIP BC, but it's not RIP for the concepts of online businesses, not websites. And it's definitely not RIP for the Business Catalyst community. The reason that Business Catalyst was a success is because of you, Business Catalyst partners. The Business Catalyst partner community is the reason for the success of BC. Full stop. Is it the technology? Yeah, it was pretty good in its day. 6-7 years ago. Has there been an ongoing investment around that? A little bit, but it's the Business Catalyst community that actually has made it an amazing solution for people. And if the technology had kept up with the requirements of the partners, we wouldn't be having this conversation. My belief is that if Business Catalyst was in the Adobe Marketing Cloud business unit and not the Creative Cloud business unit, we'd be having a different conversation. I'd still be at Adobe for a start. Anyway, it is what it is. And we can make this a really huge opportunity for us. But before we talk about opportunity, before we go down a sales spiel and say, hey, Platform OS is the best alternative since sliced bread, or here's some other alternatives, we also need to be very cognizant of the emotional impact, because for a lot of BC partners, this is like an unexpected divorce. It's blindsiding. I don't know if anyone's gone through a divorce. I have. I've also gone through some pretty tragic emotional deaths in the family unexpectedly. And for this kind of event to take place, for some people, it can be very similar to a divorce. In fact, someone said this has been worse than a divorce because they spent more time on their business than in their relationship. They spend more time with the Business Catalyst community than they do with their friends and family. So the emotional impact cannot be ignored. And in line with grief, there's the 5 steps of grief. And I know this is not the technology conversation right now. It's more esoteric and outside. It's in the emotional realm. And I think it's important to call it out, because grief is going to be a natural part of anything that dies. End of life is what we're calling the death of Business Catalyst. And that's going to change a lot of businesses. It's going to put a lot of stress on people. But I believe the community is coming together to mitigate against that stress and confusion. And so sticking together as a community is going to be a critical part of getting through it. You know, the whole denial, no way, Adobe wouldn't do this to us. It's a profitable business unit. No, it's not going to happen. Then the anger. What? This is going to kill my business. I've got clients that I just signed up yesterday for a 3-year contract or a 12-month contract. I've got really sophisticated web app sites that need all this API backend hacking with third-party system integration. What am I going to do? I'm furious. This is ridiculous. Then there's the bargaining. Okay, well, what if we buy the code off Adobe? Surely they'll sell it to us, or at least give it to us as open source code. There's that bargaining. And when you realize that that's not going to happen, and I assure you it's not going to happen, people are trying, have tried. There's reasons why it won't happen. We can talk about it separately. But the bargaining process goes through, and then there's the depression of what next. Once you get through that and accept it, you can then move on to the opportunity. Everybody's going to be on a different part of that grief journey, and those that some have already moved through to acceptance and opportunity, they're already building solutions. Others are at different parts of this, and I think it's important that you recognize that your conversations that might be going on in Facebook, or I'm not on Facebook, but I'll join again soon, on Facebook or in LinkedIn groups or in Slack channels, that the emotional component to the conversations are very much part of where people are coming from. So if you can take a breath and give each other a little bit of space to go through that process, I think it'll be beneficial for the whole community. So what's next? As I said, this is not an elegant PowerPoint slideshow. It's not PowerPoint, it's Google presentation. But the things like, what are we going to do about DNS migration? What are we going to do about SSL certificates? Well, these are no-brainers for us, and we're going to be sharing our knowledge and how-tos on doing zone exports, which Adobe are going to provide, zone file exports, and then imports. So we can do in bulk on our platform. We can pull in hundreds of thousands of zone files and process them, set up DNS like that. Same with SSL. SSL can be provisioned, proper SSL, wildcard, A record, www, proper free SSL certificates, no-brainers. We'll share that not just for our platform, but how that could be approached, whether you're using external DNS services or other platforms. So we hope to be involved in that education process. So DNS is something to think of. You could actually have all of your DNS records set up and SSL certificates ready to rock and roll, and then just change your name server record and job done. So those sorts of things can be mitigated against. Also migrating the essentials like CRM data, web forms, that's also pretty straightforward, no-brainer. In fact, some great BC partners are already building that and have the APIs, like Joe and Kareem with their backup service that they have. They're very adept. They have done a great job at hooking into all of the BC APIs, and some other partners as well. So migrating data and web forms are not so difficult. Product exports, the same. Pretty standard format, and there's lots of shopping cart solutions along with us that will be able to take that data and import it. The tricky part will be payment gateway stuff and the payment gateway API keys, but more about that later. Web apps is likely to be needed to be recreated properly. I know web apps is one of the jewels in the BC platform, and it pleases me no end because all of the back-end stuff for web apps I developed. So I take great pride in that. In fact, the DNA behind Platform OS is web apps on steroids. You can build anything and your own API endpoints. You can do anything on our frameworks, no matter what type of object, people, product, places, projects, communities, any object can be created with any kind of business rule associated with it for subscriptions, for purchase, for blog engine, you name it, it can be done. So it's the mapping of existing web apps. The simple ones should be straightforward. The more complex ones where you have multiple web apps that interact with each other could be an opportunity to sit back and go, oh, hang on, let's do this properly, do a better version of that in the next platform, especially with some great SEO capabilities around it, membership management tools, etc. Web apps will be a little more difficult. Granted, there are people working on the migration scripts for that as well. Payment gateways and private keys, ouch. So what platform are you moving to? Do they have the payment gateway that your clients are already working with? Is it easy to just cut and paste some account information, API keys from one platform to another? Maybe, maybe not. We are also working on a framework to allow other developers to add payment gateway integration. We already support Stripe, Braintree, PayPal, Authorize.net, Ogon. We're adding Polypay. We're getting eWay in. There's a whole bunch. Similar framework to how Shopify works with a thing called Active Merchant, which allows developers to plug in a new payment gateway and everybody gets it. That's been our approach to that. The part with the API key and moving over could be difficult in some cases. Master partners who can do the heavy lifting and migrate with up-to-date best practice, SEO, Google accelerated mobile pages, material design, 301 redirects. These are some of the things that also need to be considered when you're moving to any platform. How is your SEO going to be affected? And will it be better than what you've got now? It should be better than what you've got now. That's the thing to take away. Our SEO capabilities, bar none from what I've seen, are the best. And it's an arrogant statement, but I can actually prove it. So we'll go ahead and do that at some point. But that is a consideration. What platform are you migrating to? And can you do Google accelerated mobile pages? Do they allow for static cached content that expires after a certain time, but allows Google to index and cache it on their CDN under the accelerated mobile pages regime that they're going to be kicking in big time? And with June coming up and with some changes to Google's algorithms and processes around mobile optimization, AMP, etc., be mindful of that. It could be an opportunity for some of you to upsell your customers to get ahead of the curve. Maybe time for them to revamp their online presence. Community portals, we're looking at various types of partners and access to public, private, secret groups with instant messaging, Slack and Telegram integration. We know there's a whole disparate, disconnected set of communication going on. Facebook one, LinkedIn another, various Slack channels. We will be creating community portals, which is what our platform actually powers anyway. We'll show you with Intel and Hallmark what we've done for those big companies, and consolidate those communities, whether they use our platform or not. Ultimately, for us, we are focused on working with developers, front-end developers, channel partners who can build awesome things on top of our platform, like Webflow, for example, can work with us, as can a number of other front-end, do-it-yourself content management tools. The team at Code Production Co. with Triple, retrofitting their nice editor over the top of our platform and building a whole admin interface that is almost mimicking Business Catalyst. So that's the power that we provide, and we're going to work with other vendors, whether you end up using our platform or not. And there's also, for certain partners, technically advanced partners, setting up various QA and staging servers for them to do migration, test and make sure that those sites migrate and work correctly, and then be able to give you reassurance to your clients as well. So we're already in conversation with some key partners around that. Stick together as partners, and that way, no matter what you end up migrating onto, you're going to have the support of the community. Obviously, some are going to take this as a huge opportunity, and they're going to build competitive products to help with both Business Catalyst and Muse migration. Of course, you know, Muse is also end of life. And there's horses for courses. There's going to be different types of solutions for a different type of customer. There's the race to the bottom, which we were never intending being part of, and we're going to very carefully manage how we work with specific kinds of sites. We are an all-in-one platform, but we are not wanting to create a race to the bottom mentality. I think there's a great opportunity for a lot of partners to now move on from clients that actually have cost them money. I need a $40 a month website, and I'm going to call you every other day to have things done and changed. And if you're not charging an appropriate hourly rate, then you're probably losing money on some deals. Maybe Weebly, Wix, Squarespace could be a great solution for them. Harsh, but the realities of business needs to account for that. And how do we move up the value chain? So stick together. Some alternatives and some information that we're going to make available. I'm just going to pause for a moment. I'm going to head over to the chat panel, and oh, there's our little beta partner portal hanging out there. Just want to make sure that I get this on the right page. Hang on. Sorry, everybody. I want to see if there's questions here. Did you and Alex resolve monthly? Oh, great question. What is Triple and what is Platform OS? The gap between DIY and value build is widening rapidly. So what Alex did at, I think it was 2 a.m. in his time when he presented to Sandpile, was present a solution. He has 3 options. Option 1 is Triple, which will push a client site off to WordPress. There'll be a migration fee, job done, there you go. You've now got it on WordPress. It has a cost associated with the migration. Option 2 is Triple on their own CMS. They're building something behind the scenes, which is their own little, it's Triple connecting to a storage instance, probably on AWS, which is going to have its own monthly pricing regime. Then there's Triple that can push to Platform OS. The pricing that he mentioned was the final pricing per month hosting. So he's passing through our costs. The only additional costs that you would expect to pay is some kind of setup or migration fee that they may charge, which is to be determined. So there's no additional charge when he was showing that pricing. There's no additional charge on top. You're not paying $50 a month plus our $50 a month. That was the pass-through cost. The reason for that is that Code Production Co. wants to connect with partners, provide alternatives, and also work with everybody in the long term. So it's a strategic business decision for them. We will work with any partner in the same way. Their team have jumped in, boots and all, and are cranking through our APIs, building out all sorts of amazing things. And that will service a part of the market. Other partners are jumping in because they're moving into enterprise, and they're taking on clients like Intel and Hallmark and DB Schenker, and the largest telco in New Zealand is building on our platform. So there is a wide gap. The functionality is the same. The pricing will move based on usage. I hope that cleared it up, Wayne. And I think Dima from Code Production Co. is going to articulate that clearly. I have to say I was confused on the call a bit too. I didn't want to preempt anything. And at the end, I think when I said, Alex, is it this or this? And then he clarified, no, we're not charging more. And we further clarified it even more after. And I think we've helped him on some of the wording around that. Okay. For those that missed the Sandpile, and is the screen still, is the PowerPoint the one that's being displayed now, or is it different? Oh, here we go. I need to make sure that the right screen is being shared. Let's just do that.
Oh, no, you're good. That was your PowerPoint.
That was my PowerPoint? Great. Yeah. So you can still see that. Thanks, Julian. All right, so let's look at some alternatives. And there's a spreadsheet that Barbara has put together, and let's load it up. Actually, I went to look at this before, and somebody had actually deleted everything from this and put some stuff in there, trolling Barbara. I don't know what happened there, but thankfully it's all fixed again now. You'll see that we're in here, Webflow and Duda. By the way, we work with Webflow output. So if someone wants to build their stuff on Webflow, you can push it to our CMS and also then include all of the awesomeness that we have in our back end, which you'll see get a taste of. Duda, number one so far. Again, we're horses for courses. We hope to be number one ultimately. And there's a lot of due diligence going on around here, and the Business Catalyst partner team are really going into great details to look at, what is what, who is who, what are pricing, what can they do, what can't they do. You'll see a lot of this update over the weeks and months ahead. So this spreadsheet, if you don't already have it, there will be a link. In fact, ShipStation scope, so the question, Lalit, any third-party API integration is a breeze with our platform, and we have a whole shipping and payment gateway framework that allows for that, not to mention an API workflow alert. So you can send workflow alerts as email, as text, or API endpoints. And the Zapier, again, it's an API endpoint. You can push anything. I'll show you how you do it. We wanted to build a framework which would allow anything to connect to anything, and that's what we've done. So yep, if any RESTful API can be integrated in a heartbeat. All right, very quickly. Here's this spreadsheet which lists out a lot of the alternatives. So please feel free to click through, and I know that some of you may already have this, but jump in and get involved. I'll just close that one down. And there's another resource. These are some questions. Adam Cook has been putting this together and sharing this document. We have not completed it yet. We're using this as a bit of a Q&A place. As I said, everyone was caught off guard. We have had 1 week to put together everything so far. And what we're looking at doing is answering questions. And this document, if I can actually get it to scroll down, it's really slow. There we go. There we go. Is stuff that's being asked of our team. So what is Platform OS? What's our stack? Well, we use Postgres, Redis, Ruby on Rails, Python, Erlang, Elasticsearch, GraphQL, Liquid Markup. These three last little notes is what makes it incredibly performant, scalable, and flexible for front-end developers. All the business logic, not just Liquid Markup, because Liquid is great for web and conditional formatting of HTML. But what if you wanted to have the middle layer, the API? What if you wanted to create your own API endpoint? So like module data in Business Catalyst, GraphQL was invented by Facebook to protect their core source code from all of the thousands of developers that built Facebook. So they open source this. It's awesome. It's a wrapper for APIs, and you can create your own API endpoints. I'll give you a little sneak peek of how we work with it, but what this means is from a technical stack perspective, you get your own GitHub repo for your client's site. Everything is encapsulated, all your assets, all of your JavaScript frameworks, your business logic, your liquid views, your graph queries, your admin, everything. And all you would need to do then is, if you want to migrate off, is change the graph query connection to point to a different type of schema and ensure that some of the API functionality was behind that schema. So it's kind of like having the BC export tools already done for you as you develop your own sites. So this stack here, extremely performant, powerful, and open source. Liquid Markup, GraphQL, Elasticsearch, all open source. And these languages, that's protected in our API layer, but we also use Docker. And for those of you not familiar with Docker, it's a containerization system. It's a way of encapsulating our entire server dependency stack. So in other words, you need database, you need an application layer, a web server, maybe a whole bunch of coding libraries, which you don't want to expose to everybody. And you can wrap that up in a virtual server like VMware or Citrix, if anybody used that back in the day. Being able to then have that for our environment means that we reduce single point of failure in terms of hosting environments. So yes, we're on AWS, but we can also use Google hosting and Microsoft Azure or our own hosting environment. Silver Stripe just came through as a question. Not sure what that is. As I said, we're very flexible. We've built frameworks to plug in anything. So if we find out more about what Silver Stripe is, PHP framework. If it's a rendering engine and not a back-end coding engine, maybe, but we have opted out of PHP. We don't use PHP, but what we do with certain partners, we spin up separate server instances that you can run whatever you like on with your own APIs to connect with no latency or very little latency between Platform OS and your dedicated server environment. And we've got a number of master partners that are looking to do that actually with their own functionality that they're building is very custom on the server. So we wouldn't run it in our stack. We're not a PHP stack, but if it's a front-end framework, yeah, go for your life. Node, Angular, all React, etc. We support any kind of front-end framework and various other frameworks that are similar to Liquid Markup. We'll look into it, but worst case, you could have a separate server instance. Similar to Drupal, yes. Now, Docker. So we use that so that we can have good business continuity and we're not tied into AWS. What it also means, because the question has come up, longevity. What's going to happen, and this document, as I said, we'll make available and get you accessing it, that what happens if we end of life or we sell to Adobe? Actually, what if Adobe buys Amazon and then they end of life AWS? What are we going to do there? Well, we could be on different hosting environments, and let's face it, that all platforms eventually stop delivering, and BC's been going since 2004. I'm sad and upset that it's not continuing for beyond another 2 years, but as I said, it is what it is, and let's expect that everybody is obsolete and everything is obsolete, and we better have a business continuity plan, and we'd also be wise to ensure that what we do build on is as close to be easily migrated as possible, which is why we've taken the approach to our development stack that we have. So you want to move because you're forced to. There's obsolescence and the platform's not keeping up. There's better, faster, cheaper alternatives. There's an EMP blast and there's no electricity to run anything anymore. In the event of EMP blast, I've noted that we will be supplying pencils and paper so that you can keep your code written and put that somewhere safe until the power comes back. But in Platform OS, we've stuck with Liquid Markup and added these additional 4 layers. GraphQL, all front-end code, including graph queries, form configurations, web app configs, and business rules, and Liquid Views are stored in your GitHub repository. And we use Docker, as I mentioned, for containerization and extensibility, so that you can literally build anything on top of us. We're building a HubSpot killer. We've got CRM for unique industry niches, Internet of Things apps, so that if it's not, it might be a website today, but you might want to build a web app or an IoT connection for Google Home or Amazon Alexa. Hey, find me the nearest web designer. Alexa, find me the nearest web designer. And if you've got that little app connected, maybe she will. Maybe she'll find you through our marketplace, because we're going to be building that in. So we've taken the approach of everything will eventually be obsolete. So how do we future-proof? Let's stick with some more open frameworks, and let's move to GitHub rather than FTP. So we have proper version control. We use the front-end development processes that the modern web developer are now using. Let's ensure that we have Google accelerated mobile pages catered for with static content caching, etc. So that's what we're doing. We had some other questions in here. I'm not going to go through all of this. I'll just note though that we were, and I'll reiterate, we were designed to help enterprise brands build and leverage their existing communities and channel partners to be part of the entire product and services lifecycle. We were going from the mid-tier to enterprise. That has shifted because of what's been announced, and we will make all of our feature set available. We have a number of partners already building on top, like Drupal and a number of others, to make it easier for less technical partners to have a full all-in-one solution. The price point is going to be different, slightly different. That's just a fact, I think, no matter where you go. To Business Catalyst, I believe, was always undercharging for what you got. Look at HubSpot. My goodness gracious, HubSpot. We have used and do use for a little bit longer HubSpot because we've used it to work out how they do email marketing automation because we're doing it. But look at their pricing in terms of, pricing. In terms of contacts. And so you go off and you want to, get pricing. Let's go here. Pricing for their marketing solution. So in terms of the Marketing Hub and their email marketing automation, if we go and say we just want this starter, well, you don't get any contacts with that. It's pretty much useless. Let's go with the basic, $200 a month. And we say we want 1,000 contacts. There we go. So we got a price of $300 a month. And we're looking to displace that by a lot less, and by a third possibly, maybe between a third or at least half, and provide far more functionality. So that was where we were heading. We're now looking at how we can do the even smaller plan, which we won't be advertising to everybody. Go in here. So I'm going to come back to the pricing. We will have a $50 a month plan. It will be usage-based. We're still working out what those usage limits are based on how many contacts in the database, how many products in the database, how many API calls. For some people, moving to Squarespace, Weebly, Wix, others may be the best option. So we'll wait and see what we come up with in the weeks ahead. What we are going to be doing, though, is also providing a lot of awesome free value. Remember back in the day, BC did a lot of training around how to sell, how to reposition your agency, move up the value chain. We've taken every process document, every bit of learning, and Caesar Keller, Director of Product, you might know Caesar from Simple Flame days, we have come up with project lifecycle documentation, how to start with blueprints with your clients, pre-production, design, development, launch. And all of these are broken out into really cool documents that will help you, including we have, where are we? We have detailed docs on how to work through a statement of work functional specification stage. So all of this is going to be made available to assist you in your new communication with clients. And so we'll be making this available, as I said, to all of our channel partners. It's no cost, and we're going to be adding a lot of extra value, not just the technology. So look out for that. Let's now, my machine is running really slowly at the moment, but we'll get there. So let's now just highlight again, with so many businesses at stake, we are readjusting our pricing position. The $50 per month plan, US dollars, for those with 10 plus sites. Others, we will take on a case-by-case basis, but we are kind of taking a top-down approach at the moment. Master partners who are serious developers, giving access, complete active access to our engineering team to start building out really cool things, like what Triple are doing, Adam Cook and others are doing similar. And make it a plan that's usage-based, no limits on functionality. So as I sort of alluded to, it'll be contacts, products, items, listing counts, emails sent, SMSs sent, workflow alert triggers, storage bandwidth, API calls, import ingestion, dedicated environments for those who need a dedicated server stack. We won't be advertising this price to the general public at this time, and will not be a plan for ongoing sites. Okay, I got some great feedback from partners yesterday. That's a little unfair. You're saying you're going to get us in on a $50 a month plan, but then ongoing we have to start at the $100 a month plan. It was a valid point. So we are going to allow BC partners to be able to have that plan ongoing. And we're saying only partners with 10 plus sites that migrate from BC. We're working on the limits. And for those that have on the borderline of 10 sites, we'll also take that on a case-by-case basis. The next few months we'll see us offering a bunch of tools for migration, and these plans will become more solidified and so will other platform offerings. I know there's a number of people that are working with Adobe, working with other partners. Other partners are creating little consortias to do migration tools as well. So you're not going to be stuck with lack of choice. So that's a good thing. Let me just take you through the little journey. Don't see any questions come through yet, but I will go back to the chat panel just to see if I'm missing anything. Julian, also give me a shout if there's things that pop up that I need to jump on.
Yeah, of course. All good so far.
All good so far. Great. Thanks, mate. So you know Business Catalyst and my connection with it, very near and dear. It's my grown-up child that's being buried. No, we can't buy it. No, we can't open source the code. There is no way around that. For whatever reason, it's not going to happen. But we know that with Business Catalyst, and this is what I learnt during my time at Adobe. I see a chat's coming through. Yeah, thanks, Wayne. I was looking out at the landscape of e-commerce content management systems, and Business Catalyst, Demandware, which got bought by Salesforce and is now called Commerce Cloud, Shopify, love Shopify. The liquid markup contribution they did is fantastic. BigCommerce, another Aussie success story, Magento, Volution. There's a whole bunch of e-commerce platforms. The common thread for all of them is that they were architected as a one-to-many. One store owner, lots of customers. Sure, we had some hacks that Magento did with their Magento marketplace module that they plugged into the side. Good luck anybody building on that. And if anyone in the room has built on that, I'd love to talk to you about it. I've heard of no success stories using that because it's a square peg in a round hole. Trying to force a many-to-many relationship within a one-to-many architecture never works well. And that's what people are doing with web apps in Business Catalyst for many-to-many approaches. Like doing that with Magento is a pain in my butt. So unfortunately, Magento was acquired by eBay and has languished as well. Maybe not long for this world, who knows? All right. What is different with Platform OS? Well, we looked around, we saw that platforms like eBay, Wanalo, Airbnb, TaskRabbit, Airtasker, Upwork, Odesk, Elance, Freelancer, TopTel, Match.com, OkCupid, Etsy, Amazon, CarGurus, any Facebook, LinkedIn, any community type marketplace like that. They're architectured as many-to-many, lots of providers, lots of customers, thriving community, and a marketplace owner. And so that's what we went about building 4 years ago with the Near Me platform, now known as Platform OS, we're rebranding. And this is really vital information because a many-to-many architecture ensures that whether or not you want to do traditional one-to-many e-commerce or many-to-many, you can. And what about master franchise franchisees? What about having a specific part of the CRM that a subdomain or a specific partner domain linked to your main site has access to and business rules wrapped around unique to that domain and that user as for that franchisee? And the design is different. The permissions are different. The CRM records they access are different. That's the key. And that's what we did. So we built a many-to-many platform. We focused on 4 main criteria in being able to service marketplaces. The 4 Ps, as we call them, even though there's a little 5th one. People, products, places, projects. So building a white-labeled Upwork or Elance, a white-labeled Amazon, eBay, Etsy, white-labeled Airbnb, Destiny.me, and white-labeled Facebook or LinkedIn. And then that all allowing for partners, master franchise, franchisee approach. So we have a number of sites. We have sites that do all of these things. You could do one or many of them in a site. There's no constraints around what you enable or what you do with the platform. These are just some broad, high-level category concepts so that people can draw a line between, oh, you could do a white-labeled Airbnb. Great, I got it. I could build an Etsy on this. I could build just a traditional e-commerce site that has some really cool community tools with activity feeds and instant messaging, and yes, you can. So that's important. How we approach the architecture is that you can create an object, think of it as a web form, whether it's a CRM form or a web form or a web app. Think of those as objects. We'll call them an object. I need to put a database object into the platform that gets indexed in Elasticsearch, so it's super fast, whether it's hundreds or hundreds of millions of rows of data. So the object will have fields and field values and attributes. So you have an object. So we have that object model. We call them customizables or transactables, geeky words that I'm sure partners will go, throw those words out. Let's use better words. And anyway, you create these objects. They have attributes. They're field types, they're file upload fields, address fields, whether it's a Boolean, true, false, drop-down list, whatever, web forms, you get it. Now, when you create that object, you can then apply actions against it. I want to like this post. I want to buy this dress. I want to rent that car. I want to do time-based billing services if it's a professional services site. I need to subscribe for a membership on the gold level so that I can access specific content in the site. So object has actions that you can apply to it. And then transactions. So object is a desk. The action is I want to rent the desk, and the transaction is here's my money for renting that desk for 7 days. The money then can be split through the payment gateways from the buyer to the seller, and maybe the marketplace owner takes a cut. Or you allow traditional e-commerce, which is the money just goes straight into the site owner's bank account. So we started with the most complex scenarios to then allow these even simple sites to be available. Now, a question. So let's say 100 plus sites, Adobe is closed. Lalit is asking a question. I might come back to that question, Lalit. Sorry, I was just checking to see if it was a quick and easy one. It doesn't sound like it is. All right, so we have all of this cool stuff, and then we have APIs for everything. The web site business is changing. If it's not built on an API in 3 years, you're going to have to do something with your client. They won't be found in search engines necessarily if they're not on a up-to-date and modern CMS. And a headless API CMS is the way to go for developers. Other people will build really cool, nice user experiences over the top, but it has to be API-based. You want to connect and build a mobile app or an Internet of Things device, and that's important. We also have really cool predictive analytics engine that we've built. It's patented technology. The same guy, Professor John Galloway, who invented network and link analysis way back, did work for all of the spooks in Australia and the US in call data record analysis to look for who are the gang leaders or the crime bosses. He's famous for having found quite a number of very high-profile criminals, including the Bali bombers back there in Australia, serial killers and all that. His algorithms were used to access call data records to analyze it. I met him and I said, well, look, everybody's giving away all their information anyway through social media, through Facebook, through LinkedIn, etc. Can't we analyze that to identify who are the peer group leaders and peer group spreaders over time and use that information for good instead of evil? Let's incentivize those peer group leaders, the hidden ones, the ones we know that actually do the work, not the person who's the loudest in the room, but behind the scenes. So we have a predictive analytics engine that can be used for marketing in that respect too. It's pretty powerful, and we're using it with enterprise clients. Speaking of which, let's just quickly go and I'll give you a quick overview of some site examples, just so you've got some point of reference. And I'll just quickly check on the chat. Okay, yeah, I'll answer that later, Lily. Thanks. All right, so Intel is an example. Here's a use case. They wanted to get people out of Facebook. In fact, everybody wants to get people out of Facebook. So they wanted a white label. They wanted an Intel branded Facebook, and that's what is built on Platform OS. We have people, projects, topics, groups, public groups, private groups, secret groups. This was a proof of concept that they wanted to run with. They have 20 million users globally. Not everyone's registered yet, but they also wanted single sign-on. So they needed to ensure that when people signed on to DevMesh, it uses their single sign-on. And we integrated, in fact, with the first company in the world to be granted that access outside of the Intel firewall. So talking about jumping through security hoops, we did those and came out well. We're not the only one now that does that, but it was nice to be able to be trusted by Intel. So when I log in, I'm actually using the Intel sign-in. And there's a webhook back and boom, we're in. So I've now logged in, just like I would with a Facebook login or a Google login, an Instagram login, or GitHub login. We can do all that. So this is where people can now find each other, follow each other, share their projects. Some really cool projects in here. We can find the best, we can find the most recent, we can find people that are nearest to me. And this is all using React in the back end, and all of the whole platform is completely configurable, completely. And in fact, they're doubling down on their community stuff, and they're going to be doing a whole bunch more cool enhancements to this. Keepsake Ornament Club. You have to be a paid subscriber to access this community. Again, just like a Hallmark branded Facebook where you have to pay to access. So I can see other members, I can follow them, I can share the cool things I'm doing. We used a template approach on this one. That's why it looks similar to Intel. But importantly, we're able to connect with others, pay. If we've got a paid subscription, we access it, and then we can buy more stuff from Hallmark. So it's pretty cool business model. Pay for a subscription so I can buy more stuff. Then let's turn on the Etsy functionality inside this as well. We've got DB Schenker and a whole bunch of others, but we won't go through that. Here's another example of an e-commerce site where 3 young ladies from Perth, Australia, quit their day jobs to set up a Rent the Runway competitor. And compete they are in a big way. And they didn't spend hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars on a marketplace, much, much less. And they have all of this cool functionality. They're going through a rebrand and a revamp of their site at the moment too. But what's important for them was trying to compete on keywords that are quite generic. So how do they do with that? Let's go for dress rental in Melbourne. Actually, Sydney, that would be quite competitive. Let's just see where they come out with that. So Rent the Runway, there's an ad. Glam Corner, been around a long time, a big site. Your Closet, Dress for a Night. The Vault, first page of Google search results already. And they're going up the charts. So they are doing amazing work, and their search engine marketing company has identified what kind of keywords they want to start to compete with, and these little landing pages are automatically being created, and Graph Query takes that URL and automatically injects onto this page content relative to those keywords, whether it's location-based, category-based, or whatever. So again, our CMS is providing exceptional SEO capabilities. Let's just search for that and see what happens. I haven't searched for it before, but incognito browser, it's not using any previous search history, and there you go. So the vault. So they've got 2 positions here on those keywords. A little startup. They've actually got VCs clamoring all over them because their growth is going so fantastic. So that's an example of not only an e-commerce site, by the way, we've integrated with Aussie Post and Sendle, and this has already been booked, but that's fine. And all the booking, the pickup, the delivery, the return, the money is all through our system. All managed that way. Spacer, great success story. They are another company that decided, well, we're not going to custom build, we'll build on Platform OS. And they spent all their money instead on building a brand and customer experience. They knew the value of marketing, they knew the value of customer experience. They did such a good job that they ended up acquiring their US competitor who had millions in funding. So if you go to roost.com now, it actually redirects to spacer.com. And spacer.com is Airbnb for storage space and car parking. And all built on our platform. They've got their own front-end developer who's doing all this work. There's a whole bunch. I could spend a lot of time going through a whole bunch of use case examples, but I do want to just highlight a few more things around SEO and then jump into some of the admin just to give you a taste for that. We've got 10 minutes and then I want to open up to questions and answers. So I know you've probably got a lot. Again, I'm just going to get up an incognito browser. I'm just going to search for spare desk San Francisco and Cisco. Incognito browser, so it's not using my history. Number 1 position ahead of ShareDesk and LiquidSpace and all these very well-funded competitors who spend a lot on SEO and SEM. We spend zero, that much on it. It's now in this self-fulfilling loop of SEO awesomeness. Now, down here, we've this ugly site. It hasn't been touched in a long while, but who cares? We're getting leads and sign-ups all the time. Let's look at these keywords. This set of keywords, we didn't have any idea they were keywords people were searching for, but a search engine marketer did their research. Then they told the SEO API connected to Destiny and Me, which is on our platform, here's a bunch of keyword clusters that I need you to store so that the web designer with liquid tags can inject those keywords on any page and then use another process to automatically generate landing pages for those keywords and inject content onto those landing pages to make it credible for Google. Now, if I search for New York Lisa workspace for a day, add, desks near me, desks near me, desks near me, liquid space, liquid space. I know the product manager at Liquid Space, as I said, $26 million plus in investment, gave them a few hints, enough for them to get up further ahead of another competitor called, well, not here at the moment, but anyway, they're doing well on SEO, but we make sure they don't beat us because there's some other cool things you do on the server side, which we will not be telling anybody, which keeps us ahead of the game when it comes to SEO, all white hat. So here we go. I click through this landing page and the URL is actually being used to define what content gets injected on this page. And then you've got breadcrumbs automatically created, related listings, etc. So SEO is really cool. And then we go into the admin and we start to look at how we go about setting things up. Actually, we'll go to the old admin because that's where we want to start with things like SSL certificates. I need an SSL certificate for my site. And by the way, to set this up, we'd first start with our partner portal. Our partner portal allows us to, for Platform OS, create site instances. So we can go ahead and we can create our site instances. This is going through a complete UI and UX refresh, don't worry. This is all API based so that partners can actually programmatically create sites underneath their partner portal, and they can create sites underneath other partners' partner portals if they're given the permissions to do so. So we've got this really cool way of allowing this ecosystem of partners to collaborate with each other on a partner portal basis and at an individual site instance basis. So that's how I've created the initial site. We can replicate code, we can replicate existing sites as well. So I've got my site, and now I want an SSL certificate. I can either upload a certificate I've purchased, and it goes straight into the AWS Certificate Manager service. And then once that's done, great, it's there for me. Or I can get a free certificate. I just put in my domain name. I approve it through an email notification, wildcard, a record, and www certs. I know you could just do a wildcard cert, but we do all three. Whoops. And then what we do is once that certificate is done, we add our domain and we can then assign the certificate to it. There's the SSL certificate. We're actually simplifying it even more to make it a one-step process. And then we have full DNS control. So we can use our DNS, which is an API connected to Route 53, or you could use your own external DNS for this site. And so that's all good. We can then do payment gateway integration. We've got a bunch of them already added. Let's add a new payment gateway to this site because we can have multiple payment gateways per country, per currency. So we choose a payment gateway. As I said, we've got a framework. We're able to add more and more and more. And once we've chosen the payment gateway, we set it up and configure it for live or test, supported countries and supported currencies. So when somebody's coming into the site, we can actually direct the payment flow or the shopping cart experience based on which country and currency they're going to want to pay out and use a different payment gateway on the one site. That's pretty cool. Then we've got other things like, okay, we need to have blogs, blogging engine. We also have user blogs. The idea is that if you do have a community and you want certain users to be blogging and increasing SEO from a user-generated content perspective, they can. And then you could repost or promote a post to your main blog on a site. It's really good for community sites. But we can also manage other things like, we'll come back to workflows, we'll come into transactable. This is like a web app on steroids. So we can create an object, in this case it's called a desk. We've got a whole bunch of currencies and things supported for this web app. We can add merchant fees and other fees, and then we can define the types of actions that apply to it, whether it's a purchase, so traditional e-commerce, a subscription, events, proper event management, a time-based bookings where I want to book somebody's time or a thing's time by the month, the day, the week, the month, or the hour, or the minute. And then offers, which is kind of like bidding. And we can add more and more action types. So once we've built that, then what we have is the ability for a nice user experience where people can come in and manage their products, upload bulk products, because we've created the web app, and then we can upload in bulk through the CSV or through an API. Most people prefer API because it can be done faster, but CSV works too. And this whole UI is completely customizable because it's all liquid. In fact, the entire admin on Platform OS is customizable, which is how Treeple are able to create a business catalyst-esque user experience, but with all the other benefits. So yeah, there we go. I created a web app, and then my front end just adheres to the business rules, and the front end developer also has creative control over this. So whether it's a desk rental or a product listings, thousands of products like the Vault, some of their sellers have thousands of products. When an object like a desk is created, we automatically index it with Elasticsearch, including search aggregation, which if we take a look at a config, we can specify search aggregation on specific fields. Actually, it's in a different area. Probably on the search spot. Sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit here. But anyway, our whole approach to setting things up is actually advancing. So this is a current older version of the admin. As I said, it's being enhanced somewhat. Workflows are important too. So I'll just go in ahead and talk about how workflows work. Because like BC, we have email and text. But what happens when somebody submits a form, whether it's a CRM form or a web form or a user profile that's updated or a product listing that's made? What if you need a specific kind of workflow that is determined based on the data that they selected in the submission or the data that they just updated or edited on their user profile? You can totally do that. We've got account created, has a number of steps. You can create your own workflow rules. Now, the alerts that go out could be email, SMS, or an API call. So you can then connect this. When somebody signs up, we want to do a post to Zapier. Here's the endpoint, here's the payload data and the header. And this is liquid. So it will automatically create the JSON dynamically based on the liquid tags that go in here. So you can integrate to MailChimp. How do you push out to MailChimp? We're actually sitting on top of SendGrid as our email delivery service, which is what HubSpot uses. And our team are working on a HubSpot killer in terms of email marketing automation, because the combination of graph queries for pulling data out, background jobs that can be scheduled, and SendGrid means that you could do absolutely any kind of email marketing automation based on the current state of a user profile or an order at any time. So that was a diversion. We can set up a workflow alert that pushes data, and we can persist data as well. We've got some documentation for the developer amongst us. And there's some guides on how to set up really cool SEO category pages using graph queries. So you can have the most awesome SEO for your client sites. Third-party API integration, persistent API calls, and external API calls. We then have a support article for MailChimp as an example. All of this documentation is being consolidated. Right now we're revamping all of our documentation, our APIs, etc. In fact, for that, I'll just bring up Diana before I forget. We'll get there, right? MailChimp using API workflows. Here's an example. Here's what you do. Boom, integrated. Same with Zapier for any part of the process. Diana has joined our team full-time now. She was on contract. She is a well-known and respected Drupal technical writer and developer. She started doing some work contract and said, oh my goodness, I love this. I want to get on the next best thing. She's with us full-time. She's responsible for setting up all of our new API technical documents, portal, the whole bit. As I said, we're caught off guard. We're 3 months away from having all that completed when we were going to go out to the partner community. So a lot of details here that we can go into, a lot of admin stuff. I don't want to go in and bore you too much more because it's just drinking from the hot fire hose. I just want to give you a quick overview. I think what's important is going back to these documents here to highlight that there are solutions for you all. And we work with some of these solutions. In fact, I'm talking to a couple of others in here that have beautiful UXs for creating sites and then deploying. Some deploy on their own hosting, and they have a choice to deploy onto platforms like us. We're hoping to provide so much flexibility that in some way, shape, or form, Platform OS can be powering your sites. Go here. This is this document. There are other documents that we want to get in your hands. And ultimately, the point that we started here is that the BC community is the reason for the success of BC. It is the reason. So stick together. Those who come up with their own platform solutions will be reaching out to give you peace of mind that you have choice. The sky is not falling. There are some incredible opportunities now to move your clients forward and to prepare them for the next generation of websites, web apps, Internet of Things, accelerated mobile pages, IoT connectivity, all of those things. Then for some of your clients, it might be an opportunity to go, what is the economics of having this client? Weebly's a really good alternative for you, and we'll get you on there. Then when you call me, I'll charge you by increments of 15 minutes. See how that works. You may be able to move into a more profitable agency model, which we're going to hopefully help everybody with as well. Questions? Right on the hour here. I am sorry I've gone on and on, but hopefully the big trust question. How do we know that this system will survive? We all thought Adobe is forever, and what happens if it doesn't? Can we take our sites and deploy elsewhere easily? Great question. And how to get access to a demo? Wayne, we're bringing on a number of partners already that are working on the platform. It's kind of in a beta mode at the moment where those who are used to working with APIs and that type of thing. And then we're actually opening up more and more over the weeks ahead to bring more and more partners on board until we open up mainstream in the next few months. But in the meantime, we are working with individual partners, and please reach out. We will discuss that opportunity. Now, trust, really good question. It came up, and it's something that we addressed in this document, I think. How do we know? Well, we don't know. That's why in this version of my life of building out SaaS businesses, taking everything I've learned from the past to apply so that we can minimize those sort of situations. We cannot guarantee that any platform that you build on won't be acquired by a big multinational and then end of life within 6 years. We've got nearly 2004, so what's that? 16 years? Has BC gone for 16 years? My goodness, how old was my son when? Yeah, it's been going a while. It's a pretty good run. Now, how can we guarantee against that? We can't. What we can do is provide frameworks that make it easier to have choice. We think GraphQL and liquid markup with Elasticsearch is that best approach. So you could build a better backend than ours and migrate anytime if you wanted to. Other people will probably build migration tools because you get a GitHub repository. GitHub is a source version control service. For those that don't know what that is, it's better than FTP. Far better. It's what developers work with these days. And then you can use file upload widgets on the top of that other people develop. So the trust question, nothing is forever. Everybody is redundant, should be, and assume that. What's business continuity for you in your business? What's business continuity for us on the hosting platforms we use? Well, we've got Google as an option and Azure, and we need to spread that risk. When and if we get acquired, would it be by Amazon because they don't want us offering Google hosting? And suddenly people that were on Google hosting have to migrate to the AWS version. I can't read the future. All I know is that at some point it will be redundant, us or you. So the trust is around the technology stack, the team behind it, but ultimately the community behind it as well. Because it could be that the community says, well, we would like there to be an ICO around this, and we want to contribute and have a little bit of skin in the game. Maybe we get a token, and that allows us on the event of a buyout by a big multinational we're compensated for that. We can then migrate our clients with the money that we made from that. I just threw that out there, just popped in my head. There's other things like code in escrow. Well, you kind of have all of your code, including business rules. The only things you don't have is backend APIs, but they can be redeveloped. And so for the most part, you already actually have your code and site and business rules in a code repository. So it comes down to making a decision that's best for you or clients and your business long term. Can we take our sites and deploy elsewhere easily? The easily part is subjective depending on how much complexity you've built into your graph queries, which is the layer that determines access to data, access to other APIs, and business logic. You have access to all of this. This is like the schema and the business rules all wrapped up into one. So you can then rewire those to point to other services, and that migration could then be push button simple. I'm sure there'll be competitors that will build on our platform. There'll be partners probably that will build on top of us initially and then go, wow, we could get into this hosting game. Hey, we now support Webflow hosting, just like we're supporting Webflow front-end development and other front-end development tools. Other front-end development tools may support other hosting. So I think we'll see a lot more competition there, and the people that will win are those that focus on the needs of the community, that also keep their technology up to date and relevant. More questions. Let's have a look at Q&A. If there's nothing in Q&A. Any more questions? Thoughts, comments? Did I miss any questions that were asked earlier that I need to go and revisit?
I think there's the one from, I think, Lalit. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. As a partner with Adobe BC, I'm emailing my customers.
Here we go. Got it.
That one.
As a partner with Adobe BC, I am emailing my customers and some partners who trust me as a dev. So let's say 100 plus sites. Adobe is closed. How can I make them sure we're on a good platform and it's not going to be Adobe? Oh, I'm pretty sure I get what you're saying. If you work on Platform OS, and you're going to communicate that to everybody, hey, Adobe's shut down, we're going to use this other platform now. How can you be sure that the same thing isn't going to happen? I think I just answered that before. You can't be sure. You can choose to go on one platform and it gets acquired and it gets end-of-lifed. I can explain in a couple of weeks another platform that's end-of-lifing one of their business units, which came as a huge shock to me and actually is very fortuitous because it fits exactly into our business model. So you can never be sure. You've just got to make sure that whatever technology stack that they build on is one that can be more easily migrated. And that's why we've chosen the stack that we have. Demo usage, Wayne. So ping us back. We want to work with partners that firstly, we're going, I guess, from a top-down approach, but let's say it the other way, bottom-up. Bottom-up in terms of development skills, because we've got partners like Triple and Adam Cook and Scott Reynolds and others who are digging deep into our platform to build really cool, fully functional, themed sites that just will work. And they'll be able to deploy and build incredible sophistication and really elegant content management tools from the get-go. And so we're working with those partners first, and then we're moving up to the next level of partners and the next level of partners. So that's happening over the coming weeks and months. Please reach out and we can then organize to get you connected with the partner portal that we're also doing. As I said, big shock. It was in 3 months that we were going to outreach to channel partners, Business Catalyst partners, Shopify partners, Magento partners to say, hey, come on board. There's this thing called Platform OS. We've been around for about nearly 5 years building this. We're an all-in-one platform, but we're focused on working with developers and we're focused on a price point from here up. So we weren't going to compete with Business Catalyst at all. With the shock of the announcement, we're going, well, yes, it is an opportunity. And at the same time, there's a level of personal connection and a little bit of personal responsibility that I feel as well. So we are readjusting our price point as much as possible and then working with partners that that can jump in quickly and get it when it comes to APIs. Will there be an included partner site, i.e. we sign up, bring in 10 sites, and our agency site would not be billed? Yes. 10 or more sites, you will get your own agency site for sure. Definitely. I've said it now. Julian, on my team, you better write that down. I hope you're capturing that. Hold me to it.
I got it.
I've dropped myself into a few things over these webinars. I've got to make sure I don't get called on it later, so we'll make a note of that. Awesome, Wayne. I appreciate that. You know, I've had people say that Business Catalyst changed my life. I was able to become a profitable agency with a handful of clients, all in one, and Pretty Pollution was our #1 partner. I remember back in the day, they said, we're thinking about $25 an hour for our design work, and then $60 an hour, then $120 an hour, and they grew their team, and it was because of what they could do on Business Catalyst in that time. They've seen the writing on the wall, so position themselves. Brett definitely made some strategic moves in working with other platforms to a degree. And so I think he's grown a great team now, but he built from zero to hero. And we want to do that again, only with all of the learnings from the past. Yep, all makes sense now. The writing was on the wall. We knew it was a matter of when, not if, but the when kind of came out of the blue a bit for everyone. Okay, any other final comments, questions, concerns? Onwards and upwards, absolutely. And for those who know me personally and have had a connection with from back in the day of BC, maybe even from 2004, I want to thank you for being part of the success. And we will be doing it again, only better, bigger, and move up the value chain, and also build in some ways that make it easier should ever this situation happen again. First site for first client on OS, when? Good question. We've got partners already doing that right now. So Lalit will be taking on more partners over the weeks ahead and giving you access to our partner portal, beta, and being able to create them either through the UI or through an API. So partners can create other partners and create other sites underneath them. We've got a really nice referral approach to that, not just for referrals and possibly commissions, but also for just trust and read-write access across the ecosystem, because we're going to have a marketplace where partners can actually sell their widgets, build an app that sits on the top. I know that, look at what Shane, is it McGeorge, that the guys that just on the very day of the announcement delivered the new CRM tool that, in fact, not on the day of the announcement, the week prior, the CRM tool. I mean, a huge amount of effort went into that. It is a standalone app, but it is integrated. So we're going to be working with those guys as well to help them retrofit. So we're doing headless everything. When I say headless, I mean API access. Then there's going to be really nice layers put on top, built by both us and the partner community, and a marketplace wrapped around it so that people can sell apps, sell sites, sell modules, and build a really good ecosystem. When do I sleep? Right now I don't. But even, remember back in BC days, Ray? And when email hosting, that's one thing we are not doing. Use Google email or some other email service. I would get 3 hours, literally 3 hours unbroken sleep a night, especially towards the end when the acquisition was happening in 2008, 2009. 2009, we had the due diligence period for 9 months, so we couldn't actually do any capital expenditure without approval from Adobe during that due diligence time. And we needed server capacity like now. And we built our own racks of servers. It was all, the AWS didn't exist back in those days. So we had our own servers. I built all the infrastructure, all of the synchronization, the whole thing. And then after the acquisition, Amazon, their web service was in a stage that you could just migrate. But back in those days, I didn't sleep at all. At least now I get 5 hours a night. I don't need much sleep. I've got 5 sons, 3 with me full time. So it's part of life. I don't know, maybe I'm just hyperactive. All right, everyone. Hope hope we answered some questions. I think, Julian, this might have been a little less frenetic than the webinar from yesterday.
Yeah, definitely.
We might use this as the recording, not the one from yesterday. We'll see. Yesterday it was like, blah. Oh, look at this, look at that, look at the other thing. Oh yeah, this question. It was just everyone's like deer in the headlights, me included. So we'll just get better and better. We'll also be putting out all of our, and I can probably show you this in Slack. Let me just go off in there. For those that need to go, please feel free. I'm just going to sort of go through a couple of little areas here. We'll see which confidential page I end up here in my Slack thing. I should stop the share for a second. Oh, lucky. Wow, look, that was the secret code that was on that Slack channel. Okay, now let me go and find a channel that I'm going to share with you in a second. And that is, we are recording this one, right, Julian?
Yep, we are still.
Great. All right, let me share the desktop again. And thank you, everybody. Thanks to Julian. He set up these webinars very short notice. Zoom, of course, is fantastic. We love Zoom. And we're going to be doing a lot more. In fact, we're going to do a lot more training around not just the technical, but the practical ways to be a modern online business builder, not just websites, online businesses that really are online businesses, apps, Internet of Things, API-based, a lot of education there. Now, this is our documentation channel. There you go. There's Diana. Awesome. We love Diana. She is making our documentation rock. We're using Git for GitHub for all of our documentation so that we can also allow the community to contribute. And then this gets all pushed into, where is it? Whoops. Let's have a look. This all gets put into our content management system. So lots of documentation going on. We have got support, which has some of our older documentation. I wouldn't trust all of that. And we have this site, which has a bit more up-to-date stuff, particularly on getting started and prerequisites. Downloading our marketplace kit using where is it? Channel partner portal access, and we're using Node, a little Node wrapper for marketplace kit. This is for our developers. And then for those who are less technical, there's a whole bunch of cool things being put on the top of that. Thanks for the webinar info, Adam and Julian. I've got a lot of info to share with the partners at my agency now about our transitions. All right, awesome. Thanks, RJ. Please reach out. We will be opening up more and more of our Slack channels. And, oh, look, competitors. We keep an eye on everybody, by the way. We want to be the best, and we can only be the best by working with our partners like you. And I hope that we can earn your trust and earn your business and that of your clients. So if not, we're going to still help, and I hope some of those resources of other alternatives will suit your needs so that your clients aren't stressed out. Okay, all good. Thank you, everybody, and look forward to seeing you in the trenches. We'll keep you posted, and those of you technically adept at this point, we will be getting you on board and giving you full access to our engineering team. Okay, thank you again. Julian, any final thoughts? Did I miss anything?
No, everyone will just receive a follow-up email. So if you guys have any questions that you think of in the next day, feel free to reply on the email, and then we'll get back to you and get you connected with our sales team.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, evening, morning, night, and see you soon.